Warning, this video may contain spoilers for the TV show or movie that we discuss in this video. If you have not yet watched the TV show or movie that this video is about, please come back to the video at a later time after you have watched the content that was discussed. You have been warned.
Rising with each beat of the music is ringing. We're flames in the fire that keeps burning. We're inviting the night in.
Tactical nuke incoming!
How's it going, everybody? This is Novakast back with another video for you guys, or at least another quick review. With this one, we're going to be talking about a movie that I have been wanting to kind of talk about for quite a bit. Mostly because it's directed by one of my favorite directors, and is very, as gruesome as some of the imagery is, it is visually stunning. I do say so. Or at least in my personal opinion. Anyway, Crimson Peak, released in 2015, directed by Guillermo del Toro, written by Guillermo del Toro as well as Matthew Robbins, starring Mia Wasikowska, Jessica Chastain, Tom Hiddleston, or Loki, as a lot of people will know him as, and many, many others. The basic premise of this film features the aftermath of a family tragedy, where a aspiring author, or young woman, is torn between the love of her childhood friend and the temptation of a mysterious outsider. In the movie, after certain events, she tries to escape the ghosts of her past, as she's swept away to a house that breathes, bleeds, and remembers. Which I, to an extent, was reading the description given by IMDb. And sadly, when it comes down to IMDb, they give it a 6.5 out of 10, which is sad. I honestly, this is one of those films that I think deserves a little bit higher on that spectrum. Mostly because, I don't want to say it's just by Guillermo del Toro, but it's... Okay, for starters, if it sounds like I'm geeking for Guillermo del Toro, then yes. To an extent, and I don't want to sound biased or anything, but he is one of my favorite directors. Mostly because when it comes down to, at least when a lot of his films, there's a sort of, I want to say, mysticism or kind of like fantasy-esque touch to anything that he works on. Especially with quite a few of his films, Hellboy, Mama. I think he did, if I remember correctly, he worked on the film Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. He worked on, as we're talking about, Crimson Peak, Pan's Labyrinth, and many, many other films. And again, this is just one of those films that is just really, really, like, visually, like, I think the thing that really gets me, or at least my biggest positive, has to be the ghost, as well as the color scheme used, and the house that we spend most of the final act of the film in. And it is really good. But yeah, Guillermo del Toro, just so everybody knows, he created Pinocchio, Nightmare Alley, The Witches, which is the recent one, Troll Hunters, Wizards, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Troll Hunters, Tales of Arcadia, The Strand, The Shape of Water, Crimson Peak, The Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies. He worked on that, or at least the screenplay. Pacific Rim, Jaeger Pilot, Oculus Rift Experience, which is the video game. He helped work on The Hobbit, as well as the Pacific Rim movie. Helped with, some things when it comes down to Dark Horse motion comics. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, as I mentioned. Hellboy 1 and 2. Hopefully I said this correctly. Labyrinto del Folno, Detrás de las Camas, which is a video documentary short, which, again, I'm sure I probably screwed that up. Please let me know. But, yeah, he's worked on it quite a bit. And he's got a lot of great movies under his belt. And I will say, too, especially with, if I may, just some of his films take inspiration from that of H.P. Lovecraft. For those who don't know who H.P. Lovecraft is, he is the original author who created the stories of Cthulhu, and a variety of other, dark stories, which at some point I would love to read those for video, but at the same time, I don't think I would have the time, because there is a lot to read. But anywho, so besides gushing on Guillermo del Toro, again, there's a certain style when it comes to his films, and it's always adored. I love that, especially when it comes down to the setting, or at least the setting for the final act, the castle or the house. The design of it is very, very just decrepit, rotten, as the characters describe in the movie. The way it's presented, it almost feels alive. And I gotta say, I really love that about the film. Especially when there's moments where, I guess one of the things that, one of the side plots is the excavation of this thing called red clay. And let's be fair here. Looking at it, especially in liquid form, it's bright red, as actually, if anything, the same color of red that they would use for blood, usually. Especially for I think it's not macabre horror, it's kind of like parody horror, or mock horror, there we go, where every other color is kind of dyed down, but the one that is kind of pops out at you is red. And sure enough, especially when it comes down to some of the ghosts, the red clay that leaks out of the house, and even like a moment where our main female lead is trying to take a bath, we see like this red clay spurting out of the faucet of a bath, and it almost looks like it's spraying out blood, which I thought was interesting, to say the least. So all in all, the setting itself is really good. Now, going further, to add on to that, the ghosts. Again, there's a sort of mystical detail when it comes down to his designs for like mythical creatures or monsters, and sure enough, he doesn't disappoint with that as well. Especially with the ghosts, and I'm gonna say it, the ghosts just in general are both beautiful and horrifying. I know that's a weird combination, but in the sense, just hear me out. The ghosts are designed in a way where you're supposed to be scared, but at the same time, you kind of take a step back, whether you should be mystified by them, entranced, or if anything, just flat out horrified. You get a mixture of emotions when seeing these ghosts. And again, their designs are really interesting, and each one, depending on how they died, is shaped in a different gruesome way, which again is really cool. Now let's talk about the characters, because I've gushed enough about Guillermo del Toro, his design and directing, as well as the setting and monsters. Guillermo del Toro, and I will say the cast itself is probably as good as Guillermo del Toro. Mia Wakisco, I fucked up that name. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But the lady that plays Edith Cushing is, honestly, is really nice, and it was cool to see this character, especially with somebody who is kind of at first kind of reserved, but trying to kind of push themselves out into the real world, and then inevitably trying to be strong and defend themselves near the very end, as well as like trying to deal with past traumas and experiences. Jessica Chastain playing Lucille Sharp. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. When I saw her character, first time watching this, I immediately assumed that she was evil. Because the moment we see her, or at least interactions between the characters Edith and Thomas, there is definitely something off with this character, the Lucille character. Especially with dialogues talking about, black moths and stuff like that. It was haunting, to say the least. Actually, speaking of Thomas, Tom Hiddleston, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, to make a joke that I guess Harrison Ford kind of said to the guy that played in the reboot, or the younger version of Han Solo, that's all you're gonna be remembered by. I honestly, I mean, with his character, no joke, for a second, I was just thinking, that's Loki! But, honestly, he does really good. You have a character who, to an extent, knows what they're doing is wrong, but tries to make up, or tries to make amends, or be better, and inevitably, ends up dying. Spoilers for their, for what they believed in. Charlie Hunnam as Dr. Alan McMichael. I can't say much because we only see him near the beginning and the end of the film. Jim Beaver as Carter Cushing. Now, Jim Beaver, if I remember correctly, he has played in quite a bit of stuff. Actually, no, oh wait, no, not actually, now that I think about it, he was in Supernatural. He played one of my favorite characters, Bobby. Bobby Singer. Bunch of idiots. But yeah, I'm gonna say, as much as I kind of enjoyed him and Crimson Peak, honestly, with him playing the rough, gruff, kind of businessman, no nonsense, I kind of see him in that. Though I had a feeling he was gonna die. First time watching, I kind of spoilers, by the way, again, I kind of feel like he was gonna die, because there's a moment where his character dies right off the bat, or not right off the bat, but near the beginning, and it's just yeah, that was definitely going to happen. But all in all, this is so. I'm gonna just say, when it comes to casting was actually really nice with this film. I really enjoy it. Some of the music, or at least the music that we get, is haunting, to say the least, or at least how it's orchestrated is supposed to be very haunting, and I actually really, really love it. But what do you expect? It's supposed to be a horror movie, to be frank. I think, if anything, watching the film, it's kind of, if anything, it's like any other. I can't say any other. But when you watch this movie, I'm gonna say it starts slow, where we introduce our characters, and then ramps up near the very end, especially with the final act, because the final act gets insane, just full on balls to the walls, insane when it comes to what happens. So, what are my final thoughts? I think if I were to give my final thoughts, I enjoy the characters. I don't think I had much complaints when it comes down to casting. Each character was interesting, to say the least. I think the two that kind of interested me the most, and I felt sorry for, especially when it came down to feeling emotion would be the Edith and Thomas characters played by Mia Wilkowsko and Tom Hiddleston. The music is haunting, and I'm just gonna say it, when it comes down to horror films, or at least something that's supposed to be, like a horror film, I kind of expected that, and I love it. The style, as well as the setting, and just the design is, again, I don't want to sound like I'm completely gushing on Guillermo del Toro, but he knows how to make something both haunting and beautiful. And I love the design for this. So, all in all, I enjoyed this film. This is one of my favorites. And hopefully for those who watched my video, or at least have not seen this movie, go check it out. If you guys have Netflix, it just recently came out, which is one of the reasons why I decided to review it, is because, well, it just came out, or at least was released on Netflix, so it was cool to watch it again. So with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a 10 out of 10. I truly enjoyed it. Just my personal opinion, I enjoy it. Guillermo del Toro has that sort of way of making things interesting, haunting, beautiful, and amazing. The casting is top-notch, though. Even though, I know I'm giving it a 10 out of 10, I'm kind of giving a quick complaint. I mean, when it comes down to some acting, I mean, it's clear who's the villains and who's trying to, do better or be better than themselves. But all in all, it was a good film. I really, really, really enjoyed this. So, with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one, and take care. Peace.
Two, three, five.